What is going on, YouTube? I got some exciting news for you guys, at least for me anyway. But before we get to that, I have a couple things I want to talk to you about. I've had some people reach out to me and they were asking me something that I guess maybe I haven't covered so much in other videos, and that is what to do if you do slip up and you do find yourself, after a night of drinking. And what my advice to them was as such is that if you do slip up, that mistake does not define you or your overall goal. You just simply push forward. The best thing you can do is learn from that and think what triggered that, what allowed you to fall back on what you've been doing. But ultimately, look at how that made you feel, because now you're probably feeling angry and regretful and kind of ashamed or embarrassed about your decision, and it can seem very hopeless when you find yourself after 3 or 4 or 5, 9 months sober, and then you go out and you drink, and then you wake up and you're upset with yourself. Well, the worst thing you can do is justify why you ended up going out and doing that, and then allowing yourself to justify more and more days of drinking. Because if you justify that failure, chances are you're going to justify more in the immediate future. And you can kind of think of it like as a ship trying to get out of the atmosphere. And if you're hitting things along the way, it might shake you, and those might be nights where you're messing up. But eventually you'll break out of that atmosphere. The idea is that you don't want to be hit, and then have to fall all the way back down and rebuild a ship and try to go again. So take that failure for what it is. It is an isolated incident. It is a small learning experience, and please don't take this message wrong. I'm not saying that if you haven't slipped up that, you can justify these, in the future being like, oh, well, if I do, then I'll just do that. And the only reason why I say that is because that's how my alcoholic mind would work, is that if I was listening to a video from someone and I'm basically trying to figure out a way that they might be saying that there's a way that I can drink guilt-free and just get back on the horse, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you should ultimately try to never have to drink again and fill your life with purpose and meaning, and therefore removing the temptation from alcohol from you. But if before you get there, if something happens where you slip up and you find yourself doing this again, then chalk it up to what it is and continue the next day, as if you had 2 days prior, that you still are not drinking and you're pushing through it. Even if it is to the point where those around you know that you slipped up, this is where the communication aspect comes into play, is that you can be very honest with them and be like, yeah, no, I know I'm not supposed to be drinking, and that was a big mistake, and I should not have done that, and in the future, if you ever see me, on that path, feel free to remind me what is at stake, because the communication aspect is huge. I would implore you never to forget the importance of communication, whether that be just with friends and family or in the context of a journal as well. I think that rather than letting those kind of like thoughts fester in your mind, because that's where the justification came through, is I would sit there and, I would originally have an idea of what I was going to do or what I was going to not do, and then the alcoholic part of my mind would start trying to pull in the other direction, and I'd just keep having this little wheel spinning inside of my own mind, but I'm not communicating any of it to someone. So when you do communicate to someone, sometimes just hearing it out loud makes you go, oh God, no, that's a horrible idea. But then to have someone bounce that idea back at you and be like, what the fuck are you thinking? No, absolutely not. Like, let's get you out of here and let's go do something. That can be massively beneficial. So just don't ever forget to keep the pathway of communication very open. For me, I kind of attribute keeping an open mind to like opening the windows on a really hot, stuffy day. Like, it just breathes in fresh air and clears all the clutter of your mind. And with these goals that you're kind of like setting in place, I feel like it's also important to make sure that you don't aim so high as to make it feel unattainable, and therefore make these slip-ups seem more realistic, or at least more easily to happen in your life. That's kind of a clunky way to say that, but what I mean is, you want to basically just transcend your former self. You know, you want to look at the day before and be like, what can I improve upon that person? You know, rather than saying when you first get sober, like, you know, I'm never going to drink again, or I'm going to try to be sober for, you know, a whole year, 2 years. You have to break that all down incrementally. And you can say, I want to be better today than I was yesterday. What can I do today that I did better yesterday? Even as simple as something as, I didn't do the dishes yesterday, so I'm going to do them. And you might think, well, who the fuck cares about doing the dishes? But it actually does play a extremely important role in your life when you change your physical surroundings, you know, and you put it into order. You're kind of training your mind that you have power. You have absolute power to change things around you. And when you change physical things around you, you are more adept to changing the things in your mind, you know, and things you might just write off as trivial things that might not have any meaning or merit into helping you attain a better goal-oriented life. If you keep writing that stuff off, then you're never doing any of it. So you're not even doing the easy stuff, you know. So how can you think that you're going to accomplish the harder stuff if you're not even starting with the easy stuff? So don't ever write that stuff off. I'm also kind of like looking down, making sure I'm getting everything that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, so basically there's one other key aspect I want to talk about, but after this. But I really want to kind of drive this point home, is that the realistic aspect of the goals that you set are really what will help continue the motivation. Kind of like, you know, building a fire, and if you look at the big logs as large goals, you're not going to get a little fire going and then just plop a big log on it. It's unrealistic. It has an extremely small chance of becoming lit. But if you start with, you know, your kindling and then little bits of wood and smaller and or bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you can get a roaring fire going, and you know, a couple years down the road you might be a full-on bonfire, and then it doesn't matter what the hell you're throwing in there, because you've gained all this momentum, you've incrementally built your life, and you've started just consuming all of these positive goals, you know, and that fire burns bright. Like, people recognize that and they want to be a part of that, you know, and that's my ultimate goal would be to have people obtain their own versions of sobriety, and even in their own methods. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be a carbon copy of mine, but then with that internal happiness and the peace of having some purpose in your life, spread that out to other people that can benefit from you. Because even though that this, you know, the media of YouTube is flat in the sense that everyone can access it, you have access to people in your personal life that might not be into watching YouTube, or that they'll listen to you more than they will with me, you know. And the whole idea is you just instill this little nugget inside people's head that a purpose-driven life, one with a goal and some responsibility in their life, is really the kind of antidote to the poison that alcohol is eating up inside of you. You know, you're always trying to fill this void of meaning. And when you have purpose in your life, then the alcohol kind of just becomes this inanimate object, you know. It would be like being addicted to paper or something. You're just like, ooh, what is this? Get this out of the way, you know. Lastly, I wanted to touch base on this little thing that I was talking with this girl the other night about, and she said every time she wants to go out and not drink, she feels like she's going to let down all of her friends, that they're going to be like, oh my god, you don't want to drink, like that's a real bummer, you know. And what I've discovered in my sobriety is that nobody gives a flying fuck whether you drink or not. If you go out and someone's like, you want a beer? And you go, nah, I'm okay, you know, and they're like, come on, be like, no, I really, like, I don't drink, or I'm not drinking tonight. And hopefully at this point in your sobriety you would have communicated to them your situation. But 99 times out of 100, the people that you're going out with, especially if you're meeting them for the first time, do not care at all whether or not you are consuming alcohol or not. And it's something I think our own minds try to kind of trick us into thinking that we're letting other people down if we're not partaking. It's such a sneaky, weird way that the mind works, saying that, you know, if you don't partake in this, then you're letting others down. even though the biggest person you're letting down is yourself by partaking in that, and that's why you're here in the first place. I guess the exciting news that I wanted to share with you guys is that I've been working at 2 breweries, and now I'm actually going full-time at the one, which is, it's closer to home, which granted, they're both pretty close to home, but this one is literally right around the corner, and I'm technically ascending to management there, and I'm going to be helping, kind of groom this team and maybe another team down the future, and it's kind of a, and there's a raise involved, but it's definitely a trip to think about 4 years ago. I mean, no, about 5 years ago now, when that place first opened up, I was skating by on my skateboard because I had no license, because I had 2 DUIs, and I remember when that place was first opening and poking my head in, seeing that it was a new brewery, and I'm like, oh, cool, right around the corner from that place. And I used to stop by that brewery all the time on my way to work at the other brewery and have a bunch of beers and get really drunk, and I was known there, as someone who drank a lot, and would put back 4 or 5 or 6 double IPAs before I went in to my job at the other place. And you don't ever really think of the perception of what other people see you as when you're in that moment. You think that you're like, oh, they love me there, but they used to look at me as this guy, like, not a mean person or anything, but they're like, holy fuck, that guy has 6 beers and then goes to work. He drives there, And it's so crazy to see now on the other end of the spectrum, not only do I work there, but now I'm management. I was just thinking about that when I was standing there today, opening up, looking around, being like, I'm in a position of power at this place now, all because of the actions that I've put forth in my life. And if you look at my version before now, the person I was a couple of years ago, I was just a drunk. There was nothing, really special about me besides the fact that, like, I was kind of funny and, like, I could be charming at times, but I drank entirely too much and I was severely depressed, and I didn't really have any sights for the future. I just figured maybe I'd figure it out one day, I was just hoping that, with age came wisdom and I would have something kind of fall into my lap. And then once I got sober, I realized, oh, no, you just have to go do that. You have to go figure it out. And you literally just start trying stuff until you go, well, I like that, and I like that, and I think I can do this. So ultimately, after this job, I would like to start, and while I'm there, working towards life coaching. And I feel like this is the thing that resonates the most with me, is that I like helping people, and I want people to unlock their own potential and just see how unbelievably beneficial it can be just to have this purpose-driven life, to have this, goal hierarchy that you're constantly striving to transcend your former self. So anyway, I know this has kind of been like a rambling video, a little bit of an update. But yeah, I always appreciate the comments from you guys, and the channel is just continually growing, which is awesome, and hopefully it's just helping more and more people. Kind of just in summary though, if you fuck up, don't let that stop you. Don't let that one little hole in the ship sink you. Just plug it up and keep going. That's all it is. Who cares how banged up your ship gets? Just keep plugging it up and keep going, because eventually you'll hit land. Okay, I promise you. You just don't give up. That's really what it comes down to, and you know where that road takes you. There's no mystery. There's no surprises. You know exactly where that place goes, and it's not where you want to be. So, like I said, always love all the love comments. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell people that you think this would help about the channel. And as always, you guys, stay sober.